You know, I get suggestions for topics for my vlog. One that pops up often is to explain the blues. It seems there's a lot of confusion about the genre. Where's the confusion, you may ask? I'll play two clips. Both are the blues. Most people will recognize that first clip as the blues. But the second one, I'm guessing that most people won't recognize that as the blues. They sound so different. How can they both be the blues? Confusing, huh? This video will help explain the blues and clear up the confusion. I've played bass professionally for some 40 years and have played my fair share of the blues in bar bands and dance jobs. And I've come to understand the blues and why it's so popular with all people, despite their individual musical preferences. So I'll spend time answering the question, what is the blues? It has very specific characteristics that are relatively easy to recognize, unlike most pop genres that are pretty subjective about their definition. I'll also answer the question, what is it about the blues that makes it so popular? It's the lyrics and the sound. Hopefully, the next time you go to a blues festival or spend an evening at a bar listening to a blues singer, you'll notice that there may be a lot of genuine blues there. However, you'll notice a lot of songs from other pop genres that evolved from the blues. They have to do that in order to avoid the boredom that goes with too much repetition of the sound of the blues. What is the blues? In order to answer the question, I need to make the distinction between blues, the genre, and the chord progression that it uses. It's called the blues chord progression, oddly enough. I'll explain the chord progression later. For now, it's a structure that organizes the way musicians play their respective instruments. The significance of the distinction is that most of the genres use the blues chord progression. Rock, R&B, country and western, folk, gospel, the list goes on. When musicians play a song using this chord progression, they'll say they're playing the blues, meaning the blues chord progression. And they're not wrong. That music using the blues progression may not sound like the blues to the non-musician. It may not have that bluesy sound or any of the other characteristics normally associated with the blues genre. So, depending on how you look at the piece of music, it may or may not be the blues. And that's the cause of the confusion about the blues for most non-musicians. Let's look at the blues genre using concepts from previous videos, Why You Like the Song You Like, parts 1, 2, and 3, lyrics, melody, and chords. It'll be clear that the blues genre is pretty specific about the characteristics of the blues lyrics, melody, and chords. So if a song has these characteristics, it's the blues for sure, whether you're a musician or not. I'll leave it up to others to explain the 32 subgenres of blues that Wikipedia lists. My eyes kind of glaze over at the thought of trying to differentiate between the 32 subgenres.
All is stormy Monday, Tuesday's just as bad.
That was the great B.B. King, one of the most influential blues singers of all time. Blues lyrics express a feeling. Whenever you feel something ain't right about your life, whether it's love, jobs, or money, that's the blues. And everybody can connect with that feeling. That's why most people like the genre. The idea is that by either performing or listening to the blues, you can overcome the sadness and lose the blues. The lyrics follow a specific pattern, and that B.B. King clip reflects that standard pattern. Each verse has 3 lines. The first line is a statement, some expression of a complaint or grief, and the second line is just a repeat or a variation of the first line.
All is stormy Monday, Tuesday's just as bad. I said they call it stormy Monday, but Tuesday's just as bad.
The third line just comments on the first and second lines.
Wednesday's worse, theirs is also sad.
So the blues lyrics have a very distinctive pattern, and this pattern is easy to recognize. Now let's turn to the blues melody. An individual blues song's melody is not usually memorable by itself. The lyric pattern just doesn't lend itself to a melody that you would hum in the shower. So the melody of an individual blues song may not be memorable, but the sound of the blues genre certainly is memorable. Most non-musicians will recognize that bluesy sound when they hear it right away. That bluesy sound comes from the choice of notes in the melody and the chords that support it. I'll explain the melody part first. Western pop music plays a melody using the sound from 12 notes. These are the 12. I say the sound of the notes because I get the same sound only higher using the same notes higher. Now the blues sound comes from restricting the sound to 6 of those 12 notes. Those are the 6. I can do it higher, and I can go down the piano keys. There's usually a guitar backing up a blues singer. A guitar player has another trick to make the sound bluesy besides the choice of notes. It's called bending the note. I'm going to show you a clip of B.B. King bending the note. I'll explain what you should be looking for. If you imagine this back of this phone is the neck of a guitar with guitar strings stretched up, whenever you see his finger going like that, he's bending the note. So those are the factors related to melody that create that bluesy sound. Restricting the notes to the 6 of 12 possible, and bending the note on the guitar. But the choice of notes is only part of the sound. The other part is the sound of the chord progression. Recall from my previous video, Why Do You Like the Song You Like, Part 3, chords. The chord progression is just organizing which chords sound good together and in what sequence. The video went on to explain also that most pop songs use one of 10 standard chord progressions, and the blues progression is just one of those 10. However, the sound of the blues progression is so different from any of the other 9 pop chord progressions that most will recognize the sound and be able to label it as the blues progression the next time they hear a blues singer. Warning: if there's no singer, likely a jazz instrumental, unless you're a trained musician, you're just not going to be able to recognize the progression. Remember that clip at the beginning of this video? The untrained ear just isn't going to be able to detect the progression. As an instrumental, there's no worry about the chords being a distraction to the singer's delivery of the lyrics, so the band is using very complex chords that mask the standard progression. Getting back to the blues progression, it uses 3 chords that support the lyrics pattern. Here are the 3 chords. Since it's the only one of the 10 standard chord progressions that fits the lyrics pattern, that fact will be useful to you in identifying the blues. So if it has the lyrics pattern and it sounds bluesy, you can be safe in saying it's the blues. If I play the chord progression without any melody, it won't be meaningful, so I'm going to play these chords along with the 2 familiar recordings. Your ear will pick up the sound of my chords instead of all the other distractions. I'm going to label the 3 chords 1 to 3 and flash them on the screen while I play the chords in the background. Here's the 3 chords again. Here's the first chord, number 1, number 2, number 3.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well,
Okay, let's wrap up this video. Why do most people like the blues? Because they connect with the lyrics, and most like that bluesy sound. The blues is instantly recognizable from the pattern of the lyrics, the bluesy sound of the melody notes, and the distinctive chord progression. Trained musicians will still call a song the blues as long as it uses the blues progression. Most other pop genres use this progression even while straying away from the lyrics pattern and the bluesy sound. This can be confusing to a non-musician because the chord progression is not so obvious in other genres, especially jazz. As with any of the other 9 standard pop chord progressions, most would get bored pretty quickly listening to an entire evening of the blues only, song after song. The next time you go to a blues festival or spend an evening with a blues singer, you'll likely hear a mixture of blues and other pop genres that evolved from the blues. This avoids the boredom that comes from too much repetition. Hopefully, the next time you're at a blues bar with your buddies, you'll be able to differentiate between the genuine blues and the rest of the genres and have a well-informed debate about it.